Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another adventure. This time, we're trading in our magnifying glasses for, well, maybe some stylish sunglasses, because we're headed to the 1970s, setting sail on the Nile for Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile.
Ah, a classic. But we're not just here for the sunshine and cocktails, right?
Definitely not, though there will be plenty of both, at least in the film. This deep dive is about more than just whodunit. We're here to uncover what makes this particular adaptation so enduring, even decades later.
Right. Because everyone loves a good mystery, but what elevates this one above the rest? That's what we're after today.
Exactly. And you, our amazing listeners, you're the ones who suggested this one. So we've been poring over film reviews, even tracked down a really interesting podcast episode all about Death on the Nile. Oh, and of course, no deep dive is complete without a little trip to Wikipedia, right?
The ultimate source. Gotta love it.
So picture this, you're on this glamorous steamer, the sun is blazing, you've got these sweeping shots of the Nile, and lurking beneath the surface.
Someone's about to die.
Always with the drama. But you're right, you hit on something key there. This isn't just a random location, right? The Egyptian setting, it practically oozes atmosphere. And our sources really emphasize how important that is to the whole feel of the film.
It's true. The Wikipedia page on the film, it actually goes into a lot of detail about the filming locations. They actually shot on location at the pyramids and this temple complex, Abu Simbel. Imagine that, the actual pyramids.
Wow, talk about authenticity.
Right. Apparently the heat was brutal, though, like 54 degrees Celsius. Makeup calls were at 4 a.m. just to beat the sun.
Oh, wow, dedication. But knowing that, it makes those visuals even more impressive, you know, like you're really there.
It wasn't all serious business, though, according to this podcast we found. They share this hilarious anecdote about a fly interrupting filming, like right in the middle of this super tense scene.
But kidding, a fly. Classic.
It really just goes to show, even with these grand productions, sometimes it's the little things that make filmmaking so, I don't know, human.
Absolutely. And speaking of human, let's talk about the cast, because Death on the Nile boasts some serious star power. I mean, Peter Ustinov, Bette Davis, Mia Farrow, Maggie Smith.
It's like a who's who of Hollywood royalty. Even if you're not a film buff, you got to recognize those names.
And this podcast we listened to, they were saying how Jane Birkin, this was actually her first British film in a decade. Shows you how big of a deal this movie was.
For sure. But it's not just about recognizing faces, right? It's about the characters they bring to life. And one of the reviews we read, it mentioned how even today, we still recognize these personality types. The envious friend, the gold digger, the one who seems too good to be true. Christie, she really understood human nature.
And boy, did she know how to put those flaws on full display. And the podcast we mentioned, they raved about the on-screen dynamic between Maggie Smith and Bette Davis. Apparently, the shade is legendary.
Oh, I bet. A little humor in a murder mystery never hurts, right? Keeps things interesting.
Absolutely. Though with all those big personalities on set, Peter Ustinov's portrayal of Poirot, it really stands out. He brought a certain something to the role, wouldn't you say?
Totally. A certain twinkle in his eye, maybe?
Yeah.
A kind of warmth that's really engaging. Though it's interesting, you know, the Wikipedia entry mentioned how Albert Finney, he played Poirot in an earlier adaptation, but he actually turned down this role.
Really? Why is that?
Seems like he wasn't too keen on the whole heavy makeup routine in that desert heat.
Yeah.
Can you blame him?
Not really, but still, it makes you wonder, how different would it have been with Finney instead of Ustinov?
It's always a mystery, right? Those what-ifs of Hollywood casting. But I think the reviews were spot on. Ustinov, he brought something really special to Poirot.
Definitely. It makes you wonder what you find most essential about Poirot's character on screen. What do you think makes him tick?
It's that mind of his, you know. Poirot, he's got this incredible intellect, but he never loses sight of the human element. He understands that those darker impulses, they're part of what makes us tick.
That's so true. He sees right through those facades, but instead of judging, it's like he's almost, I don't know, sympathetic.
Exactly. Which I think is why Death on the Nile still resonates with us. Even after all these years, it's not just about solving a puzzle, right? We're drawn into the why, the motivations behind the murder.
And those motives, they're timeless, aren't they? Jealousy, greed, revenge. It's like they transcend time and place.
Totally. And the way Christie portrays them, it's so relatable. These characters, with all their flaws and desires, they don't feel like figures from a bygone era.
Yeah.
They feel like people we might know.
It's true. You've got that one friend who's always comparing themselves, or the couple who seems picture perfect but underneath.
Right. And the reviews we read, they really picked up on that. how Christie taps into something so universal about human nature.
Even with all the glamour and intrigue, it's those very real emotions that stick with you. And let's not forget, we also get a healthy dose of humor sprinkled in, thanks to that witty banter between, well, pretty much everyone.
Especially Maggie Smith, she's always a hoot. But even with the lighter moments, there's this underlying tension because we know someone on board is a killer.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of which, we've got to give credit where credit's due, Agatha Christie. She really knew how to craft a compelling mystery. Even she approved of this adaptation, and the Wikipedia page mentioned how notoriously picky she was.
She knew what she was doing. And that setting, the Nile itself, it adds another layer to it all, this sense of history, ancient secrets flowing beneath the surface.
You're right, it's not just a backdrop, it's like the Nile is a character itself. Silent, but ever present. Witness to it all. No wonder Death on the Nile has become such a classic. It's got all the elements, right?
It really does. Intrigue, exotic locations, those timeless conflicts. And of course, at the center of it all, you've got Poirot with his sharp mind and that twinkle in his eye.
It's more than just entertainment, though, isn't it? It's like a glimpse into the human heart with all its complexities and contradictions.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even in paradise, those darker impulses, they're always lurking beneath the surface.
It's true. Even with the murder and mayhem, there's this undeniable allure to the film, you know? It's like you almost get swept away by the glamour of it all.
Oh, absolutely. Those costumes, the music, the Art Deco details,
Yeah.
it's transporting, like stepping back in time to that era.
Huh?
And it's intentional, too. One of the reviews we read talked about how the filmmakers deliberately used those visual elements to reinforce the story's themes.
Oh, I can see that. Like the luxury becomes this kind of facade, right, hiding all the darkness underneath.
Exactly. We get so caught up in the beauty of it all that we forget about the danger lurking beneath the surface. Well, until Poirot starts digging, of course.
That's what makes it so clever, right? You're seduced by the setting, by the characters, even though you know someone's about to be murdered.
It's that delicious tension that Christie was so good at creating. And it's why Death on the Nile, it still holds up after all these years. It's more than just entertainment.
Oh, definitely. You're left thinking about those bigger questions, those deeper themes. It's a reminder that human nature, well, it can be pretty messy, can't it? Capable of great love and terrible betrayals.
It really is. And on that Nile steamer, surrounded by all that beauty and opulence, those choices, they have consequences that ripple outward, just like in real life.
So deep divers, as you revisit this classic film, or maybe even experience it for the first time, let those layers wash over you, you know? The glamour, the intrigue, and those deeper questions it raises about, well, about all of us.
Because in the end, Death on the Nile reminds us that we're all on a journey. And the choices we make along the way, they matter. They shape who we become.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Death on the Nile, but we want to hear from you. What resonated with you? Did you have a favorite moment? Head over to our socials and share your thoughts. And until next time, deep divers, keep exploring those hidden depths.